Pseudocide, the act of faking one's own death.
Self-described evangelical businessman faked his own death.
A man who allegedly faked his own death.
Faking his own death.
Faking his own death.
Faked his own murder.
Faked his own death.
A man who confessed to faking his own death is headed to federal prison.
So your problems are catching up to you, and you're running out of options. Maybe you've stolen from your investors. Maybe you're evading sex charges. Or maybe you're just running out of money. Whatever it is, you need a way out fast. So you come up with the only logical solution for someone in your situation. Pseudocide. But it won't be easy. You're gonna need a good plan. Step 1. Find your why. Every action is driven by an underlying reason. The greater the weight of the reason, the greater the motivation, and the greater your chance of success. Igor Vorotinov wanted to set his family up financially with a huge life insurance payout. Marcus Schrenker wanted to escape prosecution for the $6 million he owed his investors. And Nicholas Alaverdian, aka Nicholas Rossi, aka Arthur Knight, aka many other names, he wanted to escape rape, kidnapping and fraud charges. But your reason can be anything. You could be starting a new life with your mistress, escaping your old life as a nun, or even escaping assassination. But you're most likely collecting an insurance payout, or running from your investors. So find your why, and find your motivation. Step 2. Get your affairs in order. If you're about to fake your own death, that means you need to set up your new life now. And the only way to do that is with cash. Lots of cash. I don't mean money in the bank or credit cards that can be traced, I mean dollar bills. But it's not that simple, unless you already have a bunch of stacks lying around. If you sell off all your assets or borrow large sums of money before you die, you'll definitely raise suspicion with the authorities. You'll need to amass your cash reserves delicately and discreetly over the next few months or preferably years. The longer, the better.
$22 million in 3 hours!
Yeah, that's definitely not what I meant. Because during this time, you also need to take care of the fundamentals. You'll have to pay off any co-conspirators. It's often ill-advised to involve anyone in your scheme, as they can easily bring the whole thing crashing down. But sometimes, you need a getaway driver, or a fake witness, or a fake body. And the only way to get one, you guessed it, buy one. Just be sure to pay them enough to keep their mouths shut. Of course, you'll need a new identity, documents, and a disguise to move around as freely as possible. And you'll also need a place to stay. Obviously, the more remote the location, the better it is. Move to the other side of the world, so no one will look at you twice. Bonus tip, pick a country without extradition. Next, stash enough cash to survive for a few years. Getting a job will present some problems, until everyone forgets what you look like, so you want to stay hidden for as long as possible. Lastly, cut ties with everyone, unless they're part of the plan, in which case, they'll be the reason you get caught, so cut ties with them anyway. These are essential in getting your affairs in order, but sometimes you'll need a little extra preparation. Igor Vorotinov needed to take out a $2 million life insurance policy for his family to benefit, and Nicholas Alaverdian laid the groundwork for his pseudocide by publicizing his illness through media outlets. Marcus Schrenker, however, his preparation included taking his mistress on vacation and cheating on his wife. Not exactly what I meant by getting your affairs in order, but to each his own, I guess.
You! Get out of the car!
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
Fugazi, it's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a...
Step 3. Fake your death. So you've put in all the preparation, and the big day has finally arrived. Congratulations. There are many ways to die, and this is where your creativity can flourish. There's no set rules as to how or where your death should take place, but there are a few things to note that may aid you in your efforts. What do you think is one of the hardest things about faking your own death? Producing a corpse. If you stage your death overseas, corruption in some countries will let you claim a body as long as you cover the funeral costs. In the Philippines, it'll cost you around $1,000 for a death certificate and false witness accounts. But a stand-in corpse? That'll set you back a little more. Use the referral link in the description. On October 1st, 2011, Moldovan police found a dead body by the side of the road. The victim was dressed in Igor's clothes, with matching documentation to prove his identity. After his wife, Irina, flew to Moldova to identify the body, she immediately had it cremated, then returned to the US to hold a funeral. On November 7th, a month after her husband's death, Irina successfully submitted a claim for the insurance policy in the US, where she resided with their son Alcon. Back in Moldova, Igor began his new life under the moniker Nicolae Potoca. See? Not so hard, is it?
No problem at all.
Nicholas Alaverdian had a different approach to faking his death.
In early 2020, Alaverdian reportedly told local media outlets in Rhode Island that he had cancer with only weeks to live.
So, after he informed news outlets of his terminal illness in late December 2019, his supposed wife, Louise, who'd never existed until that point, informed the same media outlets of his death only a couple of months later. But how did Nicholas produce a body? He didn't. Alaverdian's obituary, which many people believe he wrote himself, made a point of stating that his ashes were scattered at sea. No ashes, no DNA, no rape, no fraud, no Nicholas Alaverdian. So, Alaverdian fled America and began his new life in Scotland, adopting an English accent and operating under the moniker Arthur Knight. Police never actually believed he was dead, which is why they kept cancelling funerals organised in his name. But fortunately for Alaverdian, the police had no idea where he was hiding. A perfect example as to why you hide in another country.
Grenada. Have you ever heard of Grenada? No, I haven't.
And not a few hours away like our good mate Marcus Schrenker. On January 11, 2009, Marcus Schrenker flew his plane up 24,000 feet before setting it to autopilot and radioing air traffic controllers that he'd lost control. He lied that his windshield had cracked. He was bleeding profusely, and the plane was going down.
I'm going down! I'm not gonna make it back!
He immediately cut off communication, then parachuted out to safety, collected his stash, and rented a tent at a nearby camping ground. And when police reached a crash site later that day, they found something interesting. No cracked windshield, no blood, and no signs of trouble. Quickly realizing Schrenker was up to something. Moments later, Schrenker found himself the target of a manhunt, and from what I can tell, decided to improvise the next part of his plan.
Mark sent an email to me tonight through a Google account, gives his description of what happened in that plane, and at the end of the email he says, by the time you read this, I will have taken my own life.
On January 13, after failing to pay his campsite rental fee, a worker found Schrenker passed out in a pool of blood and pills after his failed suicide. Police arrived, Marcus survived, and was eventually sentenced to 10 years in jail. Obviously failing to fake his own death. Thankfully, Marcus actually teaches us a few lessons here. If you want to fake your death successfully, don't get caught on camera, don't email your neighbors and friends, don't leave unpaid bills, and most definitely, don't actually try to kill yourself, because then it wouldn't really be a fake death, you'd just be dead.
What the happened? Oh, Jordan, are you right?
The show goes on!
Anyway, if you succeeded up to this point, I commend you. But now, it's time for the hardest part. The part that never ends. Are you ready? Step 4. Stay dead. In this digital age, faking your death is harder than ever. Facial recognition, DNA evidence, social media, and the speed at which information travels across the world makes it very hard to stay dead. Every aspect of your life is most likely stored online by the government or some other institution, so the moment you step back into society, you vastly increase the chances of getting caught.
Put your hands in the air! Get the hell!
Need a loan? You can't go to a bank?
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery! Any of you move! And I'll execute every mother...
Need medical treatment? You better know someone in Cuba. Need new family photos? I wouldn't advise it. November 27, 2013. On his way back from Moldova, Igor's son Alcon was stopped by Customs and Border Protection after an anonymous tip. After seizing and searching his laptop, they found something really interesting. Recent photos of a perfectly living and breathing Igor. Alcon was sentenced to 3 years probation. Dorina and Igor were sentenced to 36 and 41 months in prison. They had a good thing going, but this is why you need to cut ties with everyone, including your partner, your children, and even your cats and dogs. Anyone can identify you, especially if you have an international warrant out for your arrest. On December 13, 2021, Alaverdian checked into the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow to receive treatment for COVID-19. When the medical staff saw his tattoos, they noticed something really peculiar. They matched an international warrant out for his arrest. Hours later, Scotland police apprehended him. He should have seen a Cuban doctor. Currently, Nicholas Alaverdian is awaiting an extradition hearing on May 26, where his identity will be in question and hopefully revealed. So for now, everything I said about Alaverdian is alleged, and I should probably refer to him as Arthur Knight.
Defence lawyer John Good told the court, "I represent Nicholas Rossi, or as he prefers to be known, Mr. Knight."
I think this name suits him better. So if you've managed to get through steps 1, 2 and 3, don't forget the last rule. Don't be like Igor and Nicholas. Be smart. Be like Marvin.
Marvin, what do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped...
Stay dead. Okay, not that dead. Maybe he's just sleeping? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you didn't...
You know what, who gives a shit? As always, the point is this. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm not f***ing leaving!